Everyone, welcome back to our channel all about BI. In this session we are going to see how to send a error mail notification to a particular mail ID. Okay, we have discussed about error handling in almost 2 to 3 sessions before. If you go to 42 and 43, right, you will have the basics of error handling. So see here, exception or error handling basics, implement error handling in pipeline. Along with these two videos, if you are seeing 63, right, you will have pretty much information about how to handle or capture the error message in a pipeline. Okay, so we haven't discussed how to send a email notification to a particular mail ID in case of any error which is happening in the pipeline. Okay, in this session I'm going to show you how do we use Logic Apps in Azure to make this work. Okay, so we have a simple pipeline like this. We have an execute pipeline activity which calls one another pipeline, and in case this pipeline execution fails, right, we are sending a mail notification. But for sending a mail notification, right, we need something called web activity. Okay, I'll tell you how this and all works. So for now I'll just delete it. Okay, when you search in the activities, right, we have two activities. One is web and one is webhook. So the difference we can see in one another video, because the difference itself is a big area to cover. So just to put it short, right, when we are doing some asynchronous transformation, we'll use web activity. When the pipeline has to execute synchronously, or when we have to execute some synchronous operation, then we'll be going for webhook activity. This is at a high level, okay, difference between web activity and webhook activity. Alright, today we are going to use web activity for sending an email. Okay, so this web activity is quite simple. So what I am doing is I am just dragging the failure flow to web activity, and then we are going to set it up. Okay, so in settings, if you see, right, it will ask for an URL. URL is nothing but web API URL, or to put it differently, right, we are going to create a logic app, and once we create a logic app, you will have this URL in place. Okay, so I'll show you how to create a logic app. So just understand, this URL is nothing but the API URL. Okay, and then method. So every web activity uses certain functions or certain methods. Okay, it allows just like HTTP functions, right, it allows get, post, put, delete and patch. So these are the API methods that are allowed right now. So we can use any of these things. For this activity, right, we are going to use the post activity. Okay, post is nothing but we are going to pass on some information to the web API, and that API is going to send email. Okay, so this is like posting some information out of the pipeline or from the pipeline. Okay, so we'll use post activity. Alright, so apart from that, we can leave everything as such. We need not do anything else. So once you choose post method, right, it will ask for a body. This is nothing but this is the body of, or this is the content which we want to pass on to the web API. Okay, or to the logic app, you can say it. Okay, so this will be dynamic in our case, because what we are going to do, in case this pipeline execution fails, we are going to capture the error message and send it on to the logic app, right? So we have to create this body dynamically. So for that, what I am going to do is I click on dynamic content, and I am pasting a small JSON script. Okay, I will just paste it here. So if you see here, right, it is a very simple JSON script. It starts with the curly brace, ends with the curly brace, and then it has two properties. One is pipeline name, which pipeline is failing, okay, and the error message that has occurred. Okay, so for pipeline name, right, there is a default variable or system variable available within Azure Data Factory, which we can use it. And for error message, right, execute pipeline one activity, it's error.message. Okay, nothing else I'm going to add. So I'm just copying this and pasting there. So we are just passing on two information to the web API. One is the pipeline name which has failed, and the second one is the actual error message which has happened. Okay, so this is what we are going to pass on. Okay, right now we'll go to Azure Logic Apps and create a logic app for implementing this email functionality. Okay, so click on add. Once you click on it, it will ask the resource group name and name for your logic app and all. So I'm just choosing the resource group name, and then I'm choosing send mail notification. Okay, and then choose the region in which you want to deploy this Logic app. Okay, since I'm in India, I'm just choosing Central India. Okay, so nothing else we have to make here, just to review and create. This will be creating you and Logic app. So we can add the steps to this Logic app later. Okay, the first step is to create a Logic app, which is done in our case. So it will take 10 seconds approximately for creating this Logic app. So once that is done, we are going to add steps. Okay, so how it is going to work is, see, since it is a web API, right, we are going to activate it based on a single step, which is nothing but HTTP request. Okay, so when we are posting something from Azure Data Factory, we will be posting two information, right? One is pipeline name, second is the error message. So whenever there is a post activity happening, it will be triggering a HTTP request. Okay, so we will have to add steps in the Logic app to handle this request. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. So deployment is complete. I'm just going to the resource. It will ask us to add the steps for Logic app. Okay, so there are lots of templates available. Okay, start with a common trigger, commonly available triggers for all of them. They have provided a template kind of thing, so we can pick up that and we can develop. So in our case, right, since we are doing a HTTP post from Azure Data Factory, we are going to implement this particular template. It's nothing but when a HTTP request is received. Okay, apart from this, if you look at here, right, when a new tweet is posted, or when a new mail has come, or when a new file is created on OneDrive, we can have Logic apps created for handling these triggers as well. Okay, similarly, when a file is added to FTP server, so like that, there are lots of templates available. So in our case, I am choosing this when a HTTP request is created. Okay, alright, so when a HTTP request is received, we'll have to handle it basically, right? So for that, what we have to do is, we have to request body JSON scheme. We have to generate a schema here. Okay, before we can add steps to capture the message from ADF or send mail, right, we have to have a schema for the entire Logic app to work. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do is, I have copy pasted that JSON script which I have pasted here, right? So I have it in my memory, so I'm just going to paste it here. So for that, use sample payload to generate schema. Click on this and just paste the same JSON script which we copy and pasted in the web activity in ADF site. Okay, so I'm just saying done. Once you say this, it is automatically generating the schema. So when you see here, right, it has converted our JSON script to a schema. Okay, so this is step 1. So once we do this, right, so we were looking for a URL in ADF, if you remember. Okay, I'm just saying finish. So web activity will require an URL. So that URL will be obtained from this here. But as it says clearly, URL will be generated after save. So I'm just saving my schema. So once I save it, you will be having a URL to use. So I'm just copying and pasting it in the URL portion of it. Okay, so from ADF side, we are all good. We have implemented the design. Okay, we have added the URL, we have chosen the method, we have given the JSON body as well. Okay, that is all is needed in our case for ADF. Okay, so coming back to Logic apps. So we have certain more steps to be added here, because we have to configure the email address and all that I will be showing now. So this is step 1, and second step is, we'll have to choose the mailing app. So basically Outlook or Gmail. So like that, we have to choose which mailing application we are going to use. So in my case, if I'm choosing Gmail, right, it's going to ask me for permission. See, I'll let Logic app of Azure access my Gmail inbox, and it will be able to access the mails coming over there, or it will be able to delete it. So whatever it can do has been listed here. So see here, if I point to an email ID, it will be able to delete email, get email details, move email to trash, reply to email, send email. Okay, so it will be able to do all this. So in our case, what we are targeting is we want the Logic app to send an email using Gmail. Okay, so for that, what I am doing is I am just choosing send email version 2. So once I click on that, right, send email, then it will be asking for the list of email IDs to which we'll have to be sending the mail to. But before this step, right, we have to set up, or we have to give permission for the Logic app to connect to Gmail ID. Okay, so I have already created one connection, but if you are creating it newly, right, what you have to do is you will have to add this step. So it will be asking you this permission. So once you sign in, right, it will be asking for a mail ID to which the Logic app has to connect for sending emails. Okay, so it is as simple as that. So we are just going to give the mail ID that the Logic app is going to use. Okay, so I have a couple of email IDs with me, so I am just choosing this particular mail ID. Once I choose that mail ID, right, it will be asking me for permission. See, Azure App Service Logic Apps wants to access your Google account. Okay, this will allow the Logic apps to read the mail, compose mail, send, permanently delete all your email from Gmail. So it is basically asking me for permission. So once I say allow, right, then we are giving permission for the Logic app to access my Gmail. Okay, the mail ID which I am configuring here basically. Okay, so this step is required in the first place. So once you do this one time, right, then it will not be asking for this permission stuff henceforth. Okay, it's just one time setting. Okay, so once it is done, then we will be able to use that mail ID for sending the email. Okay, let's see, let's wait for it to finish. Alright, so once it is configured, right, or once the permission stuff is done, right, then we'll have to give a list of valid email addresses. For example, I am just choosing my mail ID saihari0608@gmail.com. Okay, so like this, whatever mail ID we want to give, maybe it can be in Outlook as well. So xyz@outlook.com, it can be any domain basically. So it doesn't restrict us to send mail to different domains apart from Gmail. Okay, so you can try with any mail ID that you have. Alright, so before this, right, we will have to, this is step 2, but in between step 1 and step 2, right, we will have to add certain step to make it work. Okay, because see, this is just sending email, and here we have just mentioned the mail ID. Okay, we haven't added the content yet. So in order for us to send some static test mail, right, so the first instance when you create this Logic app, right, you will be trying to send a test mail, okay, whether it's going to work or not, right. So for that, what we can do is we can click on this drop down and just choose a subject and a body. Okay, and then come out of it. So it will be adding you a subject and the body of the mail. Okay, subject I can say test mail. Alright, so second is the body. Okay, this is going to be, hey, I am testing Logic apps. So this is a static email content which I want to try. Okay, I'm just trying whether it's going to work or not. So that's all with us. So if we save this, right, and we are triggering it from ADF, right, when I say trigger from ADF, it doesn't mean something different, but just that I'm going to run my pipeline. So in our case, I have made this pipeline which is being invoked, right, it will fail. I have made it fail so that we can test this web activity. So once it fails, it will be executing the web activity. This web activity in turn will be invoking our Logic app. Okay, once our Logic app is invoked, once the HTTP request is received here, we will be receiving a mail in this particular mail ID with this subject and this content. Okay, so let us test if it's going to work or not. I'm going to run my pipeline. So the moment this web activity is executed, right, we will be triggering the send mail notification Logic app, and when you come out of the Logic app, right, you will be able to see the recent runs. Click on the Logic app you have created. Once you create it and do a refresh, right, then you will be seeing all the runs which has happened recently. So this is the run which has happened recently, which has triggered the Logic app. So when I go to my mailbox, right, so I'm seeing a mail from the data factory or from the Logic app. So if you click here, right, test mail is the subject. Hey, I'm testing Logic app. This is the content. So this is what we achieved, okay, in the first instance. So in order for us to capture the error from my Azure Data Factory and send the error information to the mail, right, what I have to do? Okay, from ADF perspective, we don't have to do anything because we have already given the message, body of the message dynamically. It's just that we have to alter our Logic app a little bit, okay. So for that, inside Logic app, just go to Logic app designer. We will have to add one more intermediate step in between when a HTTP request is received and send email activity, right? We'll just have to add an action. This is also quite simple. First time it might look a little bit different, but just watch it so that you will be able to understand. So I'm clicking on something called variables. Okay, just search for variables. In that variables, we are going to capture the message that was coming from Azure Data Factory. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do is we have to use this set variable. Okay, and we are basically declaring local variables kind of. Okay, so initialize variable. So see, if we already have a variable, we can set that variable. Since we haven't created any variable so far, we should be choosing something called initialize variable. Okay, I'll just delete it and add action. So you will have to search for variables. Inside variables, just choose initialize variables. Okay, so this will let you declare a variable. So I will say pipeline name and it's going to be string, and then initial value is, so this has to be dynamic because every time the Logic app is triggered, right, it will have to get the pipeline name from Azure Data Factory. So for that, what we can do is, so we have already declared the schema in the first step. So once you declare that, right, you will have the schema passed on to the next steps. Okay, when you have the schema here, it can be passed on to initialize variable as well as send email, both the or any number of steps that follows this first step. Okay, so if I have to access the schema information here, right, what I have to do is come down to dynamic content. So you will be able to see the pipeline name and error message. These two are the parameters or the information that we passed down from ADF. Okay, so I'm just clicking on pipeline name. Okay, so this is number one. Second step is adding the error message, correct? So for that, what we can do is we can modify this message name to be body so that we can append the pipeline name and the error message here itself. We need not add one more variable. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just renaming the variable name. I have added pipeline name. Now I'm going to pick up my error message. Okay, so that's all. Once you click that, it will be appearing here. So this is the body that we are going to be sending to the mail now. Okay, so right now what we have done is we have initialized a variable and we have added two values from Azure Data Factory, which has come from Azure Data Factory. Okay, and we are going to use this variable in the send email activity. So how to use that is, I can remove this and I can add my variable. Click on see more. If you are not seeing any variables here, choose body so that you will be able to access the variable that you have given here. That's all. Okay, so if I save this and I run my pipeline again, we can see how it looks. So right now we haven't added any formatting. So how it will be coming is pipeline name will be coming in the first line followed by the error message. There will not be any space, no new line, nothing is given here. So let's see how it looks like. Then we can add some formatting and try to make it little better. So let it run. If you want to look at the state of the Logic app, right, whenever the HTTP request is received, what kind of values it is carrying to the Logic app. If you want to see that, right, just click on refresh. So you will be able to see all the runs happening here, right? Once you click on this, you will be able to see the state information, in the sense all the variable values basically. So if I click on succeeded, you will have access to the values carried by the HTTP request. Okay. So see here, PL underscore master, this is the pipeline name, followed by the error message. This is the value that has come in the HTTP request. Okay, so let's see the email now. See here, master, PL master followed by the error. So if you want to make it little bit better, right, readable or little bit readable, I can say, right. So for that, what we have to do is go to Logic App Designer again, and then in the variable part, right, where we have added the dynamic content, right, we have to add some HTML tags to make it look better. Okay, so what I can do is I'll say pipeline name. Before this, I can make it bold. So in my mail, pipeline name should be coming in bold. Okay, or that tag I'm saying. Next is, next to pipeline name, I'll add a line break, and then one more line, error message. So for this also we can make it bolder, so that it looks uniform. That's all. Okay, one more line break if you want to give, you can give here. So that's all. We have added a simple bold tags followed by the break tags. Okay, I'm saving it. If you want to save it, just come out of the steps and click anywhere outside so that the save will be enabled. Okay, and if you want to look at the other tasks, right, just a click will make it enlarged, one more click will make it minimized. Okay, so one click will maximize, one click for minimizing. Okay, so I have saved the changes, and I'll again run my pipeline so that in our mail it's going to be formatted a little bit and little bit more readable. Okay, so that's what we are expecting now. We can keep refreshing our mailbox. It will not take much time, just to 5 seconds to 10 seconds. It's working perfect. In one more session, we can discuss the differences between webhook and web activity in detail, and the scenarios wherein we can make use of these. Okay, so I have got a mail. So if you see here, right, pipeline name has come perfectly. Okay, but there is some issue with the error message. We have to see. We might have done some mistake in the HTML tagging. So if we have missed some open bracket or close bracket, it is not going to work perfectly. So let me see. So see here, I have added this angled bracket for error message as well. So I am removing it, coming out, saving, again running the pipeline. It should make the mail look better now. So it's pure HTML. So if you have some experience with HTML tags, right, you can make the mail look very beautiful. Okay, so we can make the customizations that we want. If you want to attach also, you can attach. So you can do almost anything that we can do normally with any mail application like Gmail or Outlook. Okay. Mail has come. So see here, pipeline name followed by the pipeline name, and the error message followed by the error message. So we have formatted it little bit better. So just try it out from your end and let me know if you have any questions or doubts, so we can discuss. Thanks a lot for watching. If you like my videos and my contents, please subscribe to my channel. That will be a great motivation for me. Thanks a lot for watching. Keep supporting.